This is the story of King Harshavardhan and his wife, Queen Vishpala. King Harshavardhan was a noble and righteous king who strictly followed the path of Dharma. Queen Vishpala, on the other hand, was extremely beautiful and a devoted wife. Their life was going very well. But one day, fate took a turn, and they had to pass through a dreadful phase of life. In the heavenly realm, a conversation between Lord Shani and goddess Lakshmi was overheard. According to Lord Shani, he was greater than goddess Lakshmi, and according to Lakshmi, she was greater than Shani. This led to a long argument between them, but they couldn't come to any decision. Eventually, they decided that the decision should be made by the most honest person in the mortal world. Both of them agreed to go to King Harshavardhan of Prayagraj. When Lord Shani and goddess Lakshmi reached Harshavardhan and asked for his judgment, he found himself at a loss for an answer. In the end, he asked them for a month's time to decide. Hearing this, both Shani and Lakshmi departed, saying they would return exactly 1 month later to hear the final verdict. After they left, King Harshavardhan lost all peace. He couldn't sleep or rest because he knew that if he declared one greater than the other would surely be angered, and a great calamity would fall upon him. This fear troubled him deeply. Seeing him so anxious, his wife Vishpala asked him the reason for his worry. When Harshavardhan told her everything, Queen Vishpala replied, "You should have 2 seats made, one of silver and one of gold. Place the golden seat to the right side of your throne and the silver one to the left. When goddess Lakshmi and Lord Shani arrive, Lakshmi will naturally sit on the golden seat on your right, as she is of motherly nature. Shani will sit on the left on the silver seat. Do not answer any of their questions. And if they insist repeatedly, just say that they have already made the decision themselves." When goddess Lakshmi and Lord Shani returned a month later, everything happened exactly as Queen Vishpala had predicted. Lakshmi sat on the golden seat to the right, and Shani sat on the silver seat to the left. When they asked for the decision and insisted firmly, King Harshavardhan gave the exact response Queen Vishpala had advised. Hearing this, Lord Shani became angry and left. As she was leaving, goddess Lakshmi said to Harshavardhan, "A crisis will certainly come, but I will stand with you." Very soon, due to the wrath of Lord Shani, a terrible famine struck Prayagraj. People began dying of hunger. Harshavardhan could not bear to witness this suffering. With no solution in sight, nearly a year later, he finally made the decision to abandon his kingdom. He made the decision, and one night he quietly left his kingdom with his wife. They carried with them a small bundle filled with diamonds and jewels, intended to help them during times of trouble. As soon as Harshavardhan and Vishpala set out, a fierce storm broke out, and darkness covered everything around them. Fearing they might lose their way in the storm, they stood still at one place. At that moment, goddess Lakshmi appeared in the form of a little girl. With the help of a lantern, she guided them safely to the riverbank. Harshavardhan and his wife reached the river, but now a new problem arose: how to cross it. Just then, an old boatman came rowing toward their side. Harshavardhan humbly requested him to help them cross the river. The boatman said his boat was very light and could carry only 1 passenger at a time. The king agreed. First, the boatman took the queen across. Then he returned and took King Harshavardhan. Finally, he went back to fetch the large bundle of jewels, but he never returned with it. The boatman disappeared with the bundle. Harshavardhan waited for a while, hoping he would come back, but when he didn't return, the king realized the truth. That old boatman was none other than Lord Shani himself. Walking along the riverbank, Harshavardhan and Vishpala came upon a village. The people of that village earned their livelihood by cutting wood from the forest and selling it. Timber trade was their only source of income. Harshavardhan, along with his wife, began living in the village as well. They started cutting sandalwood and selling it in nearby towns. In a short time, by selling sandalwood, they became quite wealthy and began living comfortably. This was all due to the blessings of goddess Lakshmi. Seeing them living in peace again, Lord Shani devised another plan. One day, a merchant, who used to transport sandalwood from that village to other countries, found his ship stuck near the shore. He tried everything he could, but the ship wouldn't move at all. He was completely puzzled and didn't know what to do. Just then, Lord Shani appeared before him in the form of a Brahmin. He told the merchant, "I can give you a way to free your ship." When the merchant asked what that solution was, the Brahmin, Lord Shani, said, "Invite the people of the village for a feast, and among them, if there is a truly pure and devoted woman, a Sati Savitri, then if she touches your ship, it will move." Following Lord Shani's instructions, the merchant sent out invitations to the villagers. When they reached Harshavardhan's house, Vishpala politely declined the invitation, saying that she replied, "My husband has gone into the forest to cut wood." The merchant's men went back and informed him of everything. The merchant understood immediately, this woman is truly devoted to her husband, and only she could free his ship. That evening, he returned to her house. This time, Harshavardhan was at home. He accepted the invitation. When the merchant asked Harshavardhan and Vishpala if she could touch the ship to help move it, Vishpala, with her husband's permission, touched the ship, and it began to move. Seeing this, an evil thought entered the merchant's mind. Why don't I take her with me? If the ship ever gets stuck again, she can touch it and free it. With this wicked idea, he pulled Vishpala into the ship with him. The ship began sailing. Harshavardhan shouted, but by then the ship had already gone too far. Vishpala was extremely beautiful. Seeing her, the merchant's sinful desires grew. He expressed his wish to make her his wife, but the queen clearly refused. Still, the merchant, intoxicated by her beauty, kept following her around and harassing her. Tired of his advances, Queen Vishpala prayed to the sun god, asking him to bless her with leprosy so she could protect her chastity. The sun god answered her prayer and her body became deformed with the disease. Meanwhile, King Harshavardhan, weeping and devastated, began walking along the riverbank. He still held on to hope that if the ship ever passed by again, he might rescue his wife. But when he couldn't find any trace of the ship, he started living in a hermitage near the river with a group of sages. There he served the sages, tended cows, and made cow dung cakes. By the grace of goddess Lakshmi, those cow dung cakes turned into gold. In a few days, he had accumulated a huge pile of golden bricks. One day, the same merchant who had taken away Harshavardhan's wife arrived at that very place with his ship. Harshavardhan recognized him at once. Showing the merchant the golden bricks, he told the merchant that if he took him along, he would give him the golden bricks. The merchant also recognized Harshavardhan, but, tempted by the gold, he allowed him to board the ship. Once the ship set sail, the merchant, driven by greed, threw Harshavardhan into the river a short distance away. Harshavardhan cried out for help, and Queen Vishpala heard his screams. She quickly threw a piece of wood into the sea. Holding onto that piece of wood, Harshavardhan floated and eventually reached a toll bridge where ships passing by were charged a tax. Seeing a stranger there, the workers asked who he was and where he came from. Harshavardhan replied that he was a man filled with sorrow. The local people took him to the king of that region. When the king asked for his identity, Harshavardhan said he was a miserable man, wandering place to place in distress. He humbly requested the king to grant him some small job. The king, being kind-hearted, appointed him as the gardener of the royal garden. The king had only one daughter, and every day, a flower garland was made for her and delivered by the gardener's assistant. The princess asked the assistant who had been making the garlands recently, as they were exceptionally beautiful. The assistant told her that a new gardener was making them. The princess expressed a desire to see him. When she saw Harshavardhan, she instantly fell in love with him and insisted on marrying him. The king tried to convince her otherwise, but when she refused to give in, he had no choice but to allow the marriage. He gave them a house in the forest to live in. A few days later, Harshavardhan told the princess that sitting idle didn't suit him. He asked her to speak to her father and request a contract to collect tolls from the passing ships. The princess relayed the request to her father, and the king accepted it. Harshavardhan now, he began collecting tolls from the ships that passed by. In this way, 7 years passed, and the influence of Lord Shani was nearing its end. One day, the merchant's ship once again arrived at that very port. Harshavardhan stopped the ship and refused to let it go. The merchant, furious, went straight to the king and complained, saying, "Your Majesty, I have always paid the toll honestly. Then why is my ship being stopped?" When the king asked Harshavardhan the reason for detaining the merchant's ship, Harshavardhan replied, "Your Majesty, this merchant has stolen my golden bricks, which he took from me long ago." When Harshavardhan accused the merchant of stealing his gold bricks in front of the king asked, "Do you have any proof of this theft?" Harshavardhan bowed his head and said, "Your Majesty, I have no proof." Seeing Harshavardhan's lowered head, the merchant grew more confident and tried to strengthen his claim. He said, "Your Majesty, he is lying. I swear, the golden bricks belong to me." The king began to ponder the situation seriously. Just then, with a thunderous roar, Lord Shani appeared. He looked angrily at the merchant and declared, "The time has come to repay the debt for playing with truth and righteousness." Lord Shani then walked up to the merchant and declared, "The time has come to repay the debt for playing with truth and righteousness." Lord Shani then walked up to the merchant, and Lord Shani looked directly into the merchant's eyes. Suddenly, the merchant collapsed to the ground and began trembling. Drenched in sweat, he cried out, "Forgive me, I lied. The golden bricks are not mine." As soon as he confessed, a strange smoke rose from his body, and right before everyone's eyes, he turned to ashes on the spot. The king and the entire court were stunned. No one could understand what had just happened. At that moment, Lord Shani turned to Harshavardhan, bowed to him and said, "King Harshavardhan, your truth and patience have finally defeated me." Then a bright light filled the room once again, and from it emerged Goddess Lakshmi. Blessing Harshavardhan, Goddess Lakshmi said, "Because of your sacrifice, patience, and adherence to Dharma, I bless you with eternal prosperity. Your kingdom will once again flourish." After blessing him, both Goddess Lakshmi and Lord Shani vanished. The king was amazed beyond words. He came to Harshavardhan and said, "You cannot be an ordinary man." Harshavardhan then told him the entire story. The king and all members of the court began praising Harshavardhan's devotion to truth and righteousness. The king respectfully summoned Queen Vishpala from the ship in a palanquin. Queen Vishpala once again prayed to the sun god and asked for her original form to be restored. The king respectfully gave his daughter, along with Queen Vishpala, whom he now considered his own daughter, in marriage to Harshavardhan with great love and honor. Moral: no matter how great the hardships in one's life may be, if a person does not abandon the path of truth and righteousness, then in time, not only do they overcome every difficulty, even the Supreme Lord himself comes to help them.